Welcome to the update. I'm Tiffany.
I'm Daniel.
And I'm Jai.
We're your next generation news network covering world events, food to give back, and the great things about Arizona. Thanks again for being with us here today. And let's start off the show the only way we can. It's time for the Haps with the Maps. In the UK, Prime Minister Liz Truss is trying to remain as Prime Minister after a complete meltdown after her appointed Chancellor, Kwasi Kwarteng, presented their mini-budget. And this was focused on massive tax cuts, primarily for the wealthy, and caused market turmoil, along with increasing mortgage bills, and was also short on details on how they would pay for tax and spending plans. Now, Truss did make a massive U-turn due to the criticism, and she fired Kwarteng, who also was her longtime ally, and replaced him with Jeremy Hunt in hopes to de-escalate the turmoil and the calls for her to be replaced. She announced tax rates will be increased for corporations instead of decreased.
Thank you, Tiff. Now, we talked about the issues in Ethiopia's northern region. More specifically, the Tigray region. The Ethiopian government and its allies have been battling Tigray forces on and off since late 2020, and the violence has killed thousands of civilians and uprooted millions. The Ethio-Tigray was started on November 4th, 2020, and for almost 2 years, the governments of Ethiopia and Eritrea, along with the Amhara regional forces and militia, have waged war against Tigray's regional government and society. Now, Tigray is a tiny ethno-national group that makes up about 6% of Ethiopia's population of 121 million. The conflict between Ethiopia and Tigray stems back from long ago when emperors of Amhara and Tigray laid the foundation for modern Ethiopia. Now, eventually, the Amhara elite cast aside the Tigray elite. Therefore, this started a major feud. The status and living conditions of the Tigrayan elite and people deteriorated. This, along with several wars in the region, aggravated political, economic, and social problems. This accumulated grievances and many forms of resistance produced the Tigray People's Liberation Front in 1975. It aimed to liberate Tigrayans from Amhara-led governments, and this helped develop Tigrayan nationalism. According to some reports, for Tigrayans, losing this battle would be equivalent to losing political power and returning to victimization, poverty, and the threat of annihilation. So far, there has been no give on either side. We will make sure to report the developments as they continue. In other news, in Ethiopia, their government has just cracked down and is not permitting foreign currency in its market. Banks have been ordered to deny foreign currency to business importing no priority goods, which include vehicle, motorcycles, and simple items such as umbrellas, even alcohol, perfumes, and cigarettes, along with others totaling around 40 products. Now, in late March, the National Bank of Ethiopia indicated reserves had fallen to $1.6 billion at the end of 2021, which covers less than 2 months' worth of imports, according to local newspaper The Reporter. Over to Dan.
All right, thank you, Jai. Moving over to Iran. Protests are still continuing, this time in an Iranian prison. A fire at the Evans prison in Iran over the weekend has killed 4 and injured a reported 61 additional people. Evans prison is known to hold political prisoners, along with those facing security and financial crimes, and was blacklisted by the U.S. government for serious human rights abuses back in 2018. The fire was started in a prison workshop after a fight among prisoners broke out. Both the US and France are keeping a close eye on this as there are detainees of both nationalities housed inside this prison. Reports have connected this with the ongoing protests regarding Masha Amini's death. The protests taking place right now are historical. In fact, it has been regarded as one of the boldest challenges to Iran's rulers since 1979. It's been reported so far 240 protesters have been killed, including 32 minors. 26 members of the security forces were killed. 8,000 people have been arrested in protests in 111 cities, towns, and 73 universities. That's crazy stuff going on over there in Iran. Now back to you, Tiff.
When we come back, we're going to lighten the load with some great charities who give back. See you soon. Welcome back to the update on the HYFN TV network. Remember, you can always catch us on your phone at hyfntv.com or on your Roku device by downloading our channel HYFN TV. Now let's talk about companies whose founders had a heart and a mission to give back. This next report has all the feels. Jai and Daniel have this next report for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tiff. Now, who doesn't love a company who has a mission of giving back? Well, today we get to tell you about some of these amazing businesses who have just that purpose. And guess what? We get to help by purchasing these products and inspiring global change. First up is Newman's Own. This charity actually donates 100% of proceeds from all of its Newman's Own products to support children, their families, and their communities. The mission is to address childhood hardship in America. They help by creating programs addressing the need and do so by focusing on the following areas. First are joyful experiences for children with serious illnesses. Now we have Serious Fun Children's Network, which empowers children with serious illnesses and their families to reimagine what is possible by creating inclusive camps and recreational experiences, inspiring confidence and joy, and building community and connection. The next focus area is nutritious food in schools. According to Newman's Own website, school meals have the potential to anchor a child's nutrition, improving educational outcomes and the health and well-being of children across the United States. Through their partnerships, Newman's Own, they support programming and advocacy. They also seek policy changes to make school meals healthier and available to all children, regardless of their ability to pay. The programs connected to this are the Food Corps and the Food Research and Action Center. The final area of focus for Newman's Own is nutrition security for Indigenous youth. Indigenous people are creating massive solutions to nutrition insecurity caused by centuries of the forced erasure and suppression of their traditions. Now, relying on their wisdom, we seek to aid in revitalizing and preserving their long-established approaches and supporting their innovative ideas. Wow, that's how you get people inspired, lifting up, and doing their own thing, man. That is amazing. Now, in order to promote this, Newman's Own has helped with the following. The Oyate Teca project, which establishes a holistic approach to the well-being of children on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in the South Dakotas. And the Zuni Youth Enrichment Project, which promotes resilience amongst the Zuni youth, so they will grow into strong and healthy adults connected with Zuni traditions. Wow, what a great organization. Thought it was just good ranch. It's so much more than that. Truly putting their promises into action. Thank you, Newman.
Alright, thank you, Jai, for that company. That's awesome. We love seeing all these companies do good things. Now, another beautiful charity is King Arthur Flour. This is a 100% employee-owned flour company, and each year, every employee is given 40 paid hours to use for volunteer work. That is huge. This company ensures that their employees are able to give back to the community. King Arthur also funds Bake for Kids, where school children learn the skills and science behind the baking. They are also learning the meaning of giving back and helping. They get to cook 2 loaves of bread and of wheat bread, one of which will be donated to a local hunger relief program. How cool is that? These kids get to learn at a young age the importance of helping others. And as if that wasn't enough, King Arthur Flour's Melt Grilled Cheese competition raises funds for a heating assistance program in its community of Norwich, Vermont. That's so cool. Who doesn't love some grilled cheese, too? Now over to the next company, Ben & Jerry's. Who doesn't love sitting down with their own little bucket of joy, known as Ben & Jerry's ice cream? Fish food is probably the best flavor, hands down. If you haven't tried it, what have you been doing? But anyways, did you know a portion of the proceeds goes towards philanthropy? An exact 7.5% of pre-tax profits are set aside each year. And if you think 7.5% doesn't sound like a lot, to give you an example, way back in 2015, they gave over $2 million to further social justice issues, protect the environment, and promote sustainable food. That's pretty amazing right there. You get to eat delicious ice cream and know that part of your purchase is helping the world do good.
Mm.
Back to you, Jai, with another one.
Oh, another one. Thank you, Danny. Yes, and from sweets to good, feeling good in the belly, Campbell's Soup. They give back. And to wrap up today's segment about food companies giving back, Campbell's. Now, according to Taste of Home, the Campbell's Soup Foundation has recently refocused their grant program so that they can promote longevity and sustainability in communities where Campbell's operates. They gave over $61.9 million in charitable gifts in 2017. They clocked in 12,200 employee volunteer hours as well. Wow, that incentive of paid time off is huge. One of their newest initiatives is Just Peachy Salsa, which takes peaches that aren't able to be sold in grocery stores but are still fit for consumption and turns them into salsa. That sounds delicioso. The program has made over 200,000 jars of Just Peachy Salsa. Can I just get one? Now, this in turn has generated $300,000 for the Food Bank of South Jersey, funding 600,000 meals. Wow, amazing. Back to you, Tip.
Thank you so much, Jai. I mean, if you take a moment to look around, there are people and businesses all trying to do good. And sometimes all we hear about is the negativity. And in fact, it's sometimes why people don't even watch the news anymore. But remember, it's imperative you know what's going on around the world, and sometimes that includes the ugly things, because we are all human and we see things differently. But you can still make a difference, and we can still try to do the most good. It's true what they say, be the change you want to see in the world. Now when we come back, we're hitting you with all the historical events of the past, and we'll be right back. And just like that, we are back. All kinds of things happened in the past on this day, October 17th, and Daniel will be filling you in.
Awesome. Welcome back to the week, everybody. Hope you all had a good weekend. Maybe hit up the fair, won yourself a little prize. I don't know, have some fried Oreos. But let's start this day off right with this day in history. In the year 79. That's right, 79. Not 1979, just 79. Mount Vesuvius erupted, burying the cities of Pompeii, Herculaneum, Oplontis, and Stabiae, and killing thousands. New research in 2018 suggests the eruption occurred on or after this date, not on the previously used 24th of August. The eruption ejected molten rock, pumice, and hot ash at 1.5 million tons per second and resulted in a thermal energy 100,000 times that of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This is the event that destroyed and covered the world-known city of Pompeii. All I can say is, no thank you, you can miss me with that. Jumping forward to 1904, Amadeo Giannini founded the Bank of Italy, which we all know now as the Bank of America. Then in 1933, and thankfully, Albert Einstein arrived in the US as a refugee from then Nazi Germany. Einstein is famous for his contributions to science, particularly his general and special theories of relativity. He also won the Nobel Prize for discovering the law of the photoelectric effect. If you've heard of E equals MC squared, you could thank Mr. Einstein for that one too. He is generally regarded as the greatest mind of the 1900s. Moving to 1957, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip visited the White House for the first time to meet with none other than Dwight D. Eisenhower and his wife, Mamie. During her time visiting the U.S., she also addressed the UN General Assembly. And this next event reminds us that nobody is perfect. In 1961, in a funnier story, we have the New York Museum of Modern Art. Now this museum, the first of its kind being dedicated to the world of modern and contemporary art, actually hung Henri Matisse's Le Bateau artwork upside down. Yup. And it was that way for the next 2 months until somebody decided to finally fix it. I mean, if you see the artwork though, it's pretty easy to mess this one up, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, moving forward, 1979, Mother Teresa was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. And in keeping with prestigious awards, in 2007, the Dalai Lama received the United States Congressional Gold Medal. Winners all around today. Back to you, Tip.
When we see you guys again, we'll be talking about our beautiful state of Arizona.
JC on the track, boy.
Since we know what's happening around the world now, let's bring it back home here to our home state, Arizona, find out what's going on. It's time for the state news. Now here on the update, we like to keep you in the know on what's happening around you here in our backyard. Because maybe you're catching us live on your phone at hyfntv.com, maybe on social media, maybe you're checking us out on our Roku channel, that's hyfntv. Maybe you're checking us out on demand at your own convenience. But no matter what, no matter how you get your news from us, it's our mission here on the update to break down the news in Arizona in the most relevant and meaningful way for you, our viewers. Thank you. Now today here on the update, we are going to catch you up on current events happening around Arizona, election news and how to vote, as well as a fun segment we like to call Motivational Mondays. There's a lot to get to, so let's get right into it. Now, very first up, you guys might remember a couple of weeks ago, we brought to your attention the executive orders that our current governor, Doug Ducey, had drafted and signed, filling the gap in the Yuma border wall that had not been completed during the Trump administration. Now, our governor, who was in business and known for building the ever-so-famous ice cream brand Cold Stone Creamery, put his get-it-done businessman hat on and filled the gaps in the border wall with shipping containers, closing a very busy 3,800-foot gap in the Yuma border. Now, one would think that the federal government might send Arizona a thank you card, as Arizona pays more to the federal government than we receive back. But maybe that's for another day on another show. Well, Arizonans, we've just got a trespassing letter last Friday in response from the Bureau of Reclamation, which oversees the area where the containers were placed. It stated that the unauthorized placement of the containers constitutes a violation of federal law and is considered trespassing. The department said the containers are harming federal lands and resources, and their placement interferes with the Biden administration's plans to close gaps in the border fence in that area. The Bureau asked Ducey to remove the existing containers and to stop placing any new containers there. So let's talk tax money for a second. You know, tax money, that chunk that comes out of everyone's check. The containers cost Arizona taxpayers $6 million. Now, according to our governor, this money was spent to help stop the free flow of trafficking of drugs, human trafficking, and other illegal activities that cost Arizonans much more than $6 million. Now, we looked at many different sources to pinpoint the estimated cost of the free flow of illegal immigration. Fair US said it is costing Arizona over $14 billion a year in one report. The National Academy of Science had a much lower number in the hundreds of millions of dollars per year. But regardless of either cost, certainly our governor felt it was a worthy expenditure. Ducey's office said Friday that they are reviewing the letter. We will keep you posted on how this plays out, but super interesting that the federal government trying to trespass Arizona for what could be seen as a big help. I guess we won't hold our breaths on that thank you card. And if you had any outdoor activities planned this past weekend, if you were in town, you know what we're talking about. Unless you were dodging raindrops, you probably had to postpone or cancel, as Arizona got some much-needed rain this weekend. We don't get too much rain here in the valley, so let the flooding begin. This weekend, a lot of homeowners found leaks that they didn't know they had. And a lot of folks will find out today if they have flood insurance, as flooding took place in nearly every corner of the valley. Moving on, Governor candidate Kari Lake was asked if she would accept the election results in her race, and she answered with this quote, "I'm going to win the election and accept that result." Well, headlines started exploding all over the country stating that she would not accept the results. Here at The Update, we reached out to Ross Trumbull, Lake's communications director, for a comment. He let us know she stands by her quote and will let us know if they have anything to add to that. Well, that's that. We don't editorialize anything here on The Update when we bring you the current affairs. We just bring you the news, we report it, and then you decide. That's why we're your 2022 election news leaders. Now don't go away. After this break, we will go over how, where, when, and how to vote this upcoming election season. Now, do know here on the update, we do talk politics, and make sure to bring you unbiased information. We're not right, we're not left, we're here. We're your next generation news network, acting as the fifth of state, holding truth to power and informing the public, and simply telling it like it is, so you are able to decide for yourself. So let's go over the rules. Arizona allows any voter to request a ballot by mail. You can also vote in person, and Arizona also offers early voting. You can register to vote at my.arizona.vote/early. Now, for those people who like to vote in person, once you're registered, I know I do, let's go over how to vote in person and where. So to find your polling place, jump on your computer or handheld device and log into my.arizona.vote/where. Click on Find Your Polling Location and punch in your address so that you used to register, and you will have at your fingertips exactly where to go. Now, to cover early voting, if that's your thing, yes, Arizona does offer early voting. You can choose whether to vote on election day or during the early voting period, whichever is easier for you. This can be especially helpful if it would be difficult or not possible for you to vote physically on election day. Now, an important thing to note for those who like early voting. Early voting locations may be different from where you vote on election day. So again, check out my.arizona.vote and you'll find out where you can vote early. Over to you, Daniel.
Alright, now that we know where to vote and how, what do you need to bring to identify yourself? You will need to show ID to vote in person. This is either via photo ID or 2 non-photo IDs, or a combination of the two. Your ID must bear your name and address. So what are the acceptable forms of ID? First, the acceptable forms are photo ID, and those include, you only need to present one of these. They include the Arizona driver's license, Arizona non-driver's identification, tribal enrollment card or other form of tribal identification, U.S. federal, state, or local government issued identification. The name and address on your photo ID must match the name on your poll book. Now for the second acceptable form, the non-photo ID, voters must present 2 of these, and it'll show your current name and address. These forms of identification can be the utility bill dated within 90 days of the election, bank or credit card information, or statements dated within 90 days of the election, vehicle registration in Arizona, Indian census card, property tax statements, tribal enrollment cards or other forms of tribal identification, Arizona vehicle insurance cards, recorder certificate valid in the U.S. or in the state or the local government issued identification. You can also include a voter registration card issued by the county recorder at any mailing to the elector. Any documentation form from this list may be presented electronically as well, such as on a tablet or smartphone.
Now, if you are unable to produce 1 photo ID or 2 non-photo IDs, you may show any valid photo ID with an address that does not match the precinct you are registered to, accompanied by a non-photo ID with an address that does match the precinct you've registered to, U.S. passport or passport card without the address, and 1 valid item of non-photo ID. This could be a U.S. military ID without an address, and 1 valid item of non-photo ID. So there are a few combinations that will work. Just double check on that website and with your local precinct to make sure. Now, members of a federally recognized tribe may present a tribal ID that does not contain an address or photo in order to cast a provisional ballot. Acceptable tribal IDs include tribal identification cards issued under the authority of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, or a federally recognized Native American tribe tribal enrollment card issued under the authority of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, or an federally recognized Native American tribe certificate of Indian blood issued under the authority of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, or a federally recognized Native American tribe. The voter identification card issued under the authority of a federally recognized Native American tribe. The home site, the assignment lease, the permit or allotment issued under the authority of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, or federally recognized Native American tribes, a grazing permit or allotment issued under the authority of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, or a federally recognized Native American tribe. Now, if you happen to be a voter without an ID of any type, and if you are unable to provide ID, you will still be able to vote via a conditional provisional ballot. Conditional provisional ballots are counted only if you present ID at your polling location before 7 p.m. on the election day, or at the county elections office within 5 business days after a general election that includes an election for a federal office, and 3 business days after any other election. Now, were you taking copious notes? If not, don't worry. This information is available to you to watch and share and reshare on Roku TV and on demand and on your phones at hyfntv.com, the next generation in news coverage. We'll see you in a few, folks.
It's Monday, y'all, and we have covered a lot of information today. Let's close out today's show with the segment we call Motivational Monday. Today we are going to feature a clip we found from the Dare to Do site featuring a restaurant manager named Jerry. Check this out.
So this is the story of a manager of a restaurant in America. Let's call him Jerry. So Jerry is always in a good mood and always has something positive to say. When someone would ask him how he was doing, he would always reply, "If I were any better, I would be twins." And many of the waiters at his restaurant quit their jobs when he changed jobs. They would follow him around from restaurant to restaurant. The reason the waiters followed Jerry was because of his attitude. He was a natural motivator. If an employee was having a bad day, Jerry was always there, telling the employee how to look on the positive side of the situation. Seeing his style really made me curious, so one day I went up to Jerry and asked him, "I don't get it. No one can be a positive person all of the time. How do you do it?" And Jerry replied, "Each morning I wake up and I say to myself, I have two choices today. I can choose to be in a good mood, or I can choose to be in a bad mood. I always choose to be in a good mood. Each time something bad happens, I can choose to be a victim, or I can choose to learn from it. I always choose to learn from it. Every time someone comes to me complaining, I can choose to accept their complaining, or I can point out the positive side of life. I always choose the positive side of life." "But it's not always that easy," I protested. "Yes, it is," Jerry said. "Life is all about choices. When you cut away all the junk, every situation is a choice. You choose how you react to situations. You choose how people will affect your mood. You choose to be in a good mood or bad mood. It's your choice how to live your life." Several years later, I heard that Jerry accidentally did something you are never supposed to do in the restaurant business in New York. He left the back door of his restaurant open one morning and was robbed by 3 armed men. While trying to open the safe, his hand, shaking from nervousness, slipped off the combination. The robbers panicked and shot him. Luckily, Jerry was found quickly and was rushed to the hospital. After 18 hours of surgery and weeks of intensive care, Jerry was released from the hospital with fragments of the bullets still in his body. I saw Jerry about 6 months after the accident. When I asked him how he was, he replied, "If I were any better, I would be twins. Want to see my scars?" I declined to see his wounds, but did ask him what had gone through his mind as the robbery took place. "The first thing that went through my mind was that I should have locked the back door," Jerry replied. "Then, after they shot me, as I lay on the floor, I remembered that I had 2 choices. I could choose to live or choose to die. I chose to live." "Weren't you scared?" I asked. Jerry continued, "The paramedics were great. They kept telling me I was going to be fine. But when they wheeled me into the emergency room, and I saw the expressions on the faces of the doctors and nurses, I got really scared. In their eyes I could read, 'He is a dead man.' I knew I needed to take action." "So what did you do?" I asked. "Well, there was a big nurse shouting questions at me," said Jerry. She asked if I was allergic to anything. Yes, I replied. The doctors and nurses stopped working as they waited for my reply. I took a deep breath and yelled, "Bullets!" Over their laughter, I told them I am choosing to live. Please operate on me, as if I am alive, not dead. Jerry lived thanks to the skill of his doctors, but also because of his amazing attitude. You see, in life, in your life, I learned from him that day that every day you have the choice to either enjoy your life or to hate it. The only thing that is truly yours, that no one can control or take from you, is your attitude. So if you can take care of that, everything else in life becomes much easier.
Wow! I have chills, man. That was amazing. Oh, so inspiring. That was such a powerful story, man. Like, the choice he made after getting shot, the choice that he made when he looked the doctors in the eye and they told him he was a dead man, that's crazy. He chose to live, and that says a lot about how powerful your attitude is on how you approach things. Get knocked down, get back up. You can choose to keep going. You can choose to not be a bum. Choose to go get it done, you know? And I think that's a great way to start the week. We can go out. We all got goals. We all got things we want to do, achieve in life. So let's start this one by choosing to approach it with a good attitude despite being knocked down. Now that's going to close out the show today. It's been fun. Been a lot of ups and downs for sure on this Monday. But we'll see you guys on the next one. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Jai.